You're standing in line, but this isn't a theme park or a concert. This is a line on Mount Everest. You're in the death zone, 8,000 meters above sea level and waiting for your turn at the Hillary Step, a jagged ledge barely wide enough for one person. And up here, every second costs you oxygen, warmth, and life. Just ahead, someone has stopped moving. At first you think he's just resting, but then you notice the way his head slumps, the stillness, and the boots buried in snow. What you see is not a living climber, it's a warning. This is the story of Don Cash, a father, a dreamer, a man who reached the top of the world and never came back. He didn't fall, he wasn't swept off by an avalanche. He died standing still, frozen in time, waiting in a line. Everest didn't kill him with storms or rock slides, it killed him with silence. Before we go further, I would like to tell you, this channel is small but growing. If you find stories like this meaningful like me, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps me more than you know. Thank you. Don Cash wasn't your typical mountaineer. He was 55, a software sales executive from Utah, a family man with a quiet obsession, the 7 summits. He wasn't in it for fame. He didn't want records. He wanted to finish something that only a few thousand humans have ever done, climb the tallest mountain on every continent. He'd already bagged mountains like Kilimanjaro, Aconcagua, Denali, and Vinson. Just one mountain remained, Everest. In 2019, Don signed on with a Nepali guiding company called Pioneer Adventure. It wasn't one of the big Western operators, but it was more affordable. He trained and he prepared, and in May, during Everest's short summit window, he made his push. His family supported him, though they worried. Everest is never guaranteed, especially not for someone in their mid-50s. But Don was calm, he stayed focused and determined. On May 22, 2019, just after sunrise, Don reached the summit of Everest. He stood at 8,848 meters, the highest point on Earth. He called his family on a satellite phone and left a message. "I feel so blessed." He had made it. The 7 summits were complete. The dream was done. Except, on Everest, climbers know that summiting is only half the story. More than 80% of deaths on the mountain happen during the descent. Because your oxygen is low, your body is shutting down, your mind is foggy, and you still have hours to go, down steep ice, across knife-edged ridges, and through the very place you just barely survived. Don's descent took him to the Hillary Step, a vertical rock face just below the summit. In 2015, it partially collapsed during the Nepal earthquake, making it even more dangerous. Climbers now relied on fixed ropes to scramble up and down the route. And in 2019, more than 200 climbers had chosen that same day to summit. A traffic jam formed at 28,000 feet. He wasn't the only one in trouble that day. As Don waited at the bottleneck, other climbers were also starting to fail. Some ran out of bottled oxygen, others lost consciousness. It became a slow-motion collapse, scattered along the trail. But unlike Don, many had the strength to keep moving, or enough luck to be noticed in time. Don didn't yell for help. He didn't panic. He simply slipped further and further into the fog of altitude sickness until he couldn't fight back. That's how the mountain takes you, slowly, quietly, without drama. That morning, an image went viral, a single line of climbers stretching from the summit down to the step. Bodies stacked on a ridge no wider than a table. People standing in line in one of the most dangerous places on Earth. Some ran out of oxygen, some collapsed, and some never made it down. Don Cash was in that line. Just below the step, Don collapsed. His Sherpas tried to help. They gave him oxygen and performed CPR. He briefly woke up, thanked them, then collapsed again. He was exhausted, disoriented. The altitude was winning. The cold was sinking in, and the line wasn't moving. The Sherpas tried to drag him down, but Everest has no mercy for heroics. At that altitude, carrying another person is nearly impossible. Your muscles are weak, your lungs are on fire, Even helping someone for too long can mean death. Eventually, they had to stop. Other climbers passed. Some didn't know what was happening. Others were simply too far gone to help. In the death zone, survival comes first. It has to. That's not selfish. That's the rule of Everest. Don never made it back to Camp 4. His body now rests just below the step, still dressed in his down suit, his boots half covered in snow. For a while, climbers used him as a landmark. Turn left after dawn. A quiet man, now frozen in place, a part of the mountain. But Don's story didn't end there. His death sparked outrage. News outlets blamed overcrowding. Permits were being handed out to too many companies, too many inexperienced climbers, and not enough safety regulations. Everest, once a sacred challenge, had become a circus. That day, May 22, 2019, 11 people died on Everest. Not all from falls or storms. Many, like Don, died of exhaustion, from delays, from waiting. For a brief moment, Everest was headline news. Don's story was printed in the New York Times, BBC, CNN, and dozens of global outlets. People were shocked. How could someone die in a line? It was supposed to be a mountain, not a traffic jam. But for veteran climbers, it wasn't shocking at all. Everest had been inching toward this reality for years. Too many people, too few guides, too many shortcuts. And Don's death was the consequence. A good man in over his head. Not from inexperience, but from the chaos around him. His family mourned. His daughter said, "If your goals don't scare you, they're not big enough." His wife, Monette, later told reporters, "He died doing what he loved. That's not a tragedy." But even she admitted, Everest had become too crowded, too commercial, too deadly. There's something deeply human about Don's story. He wasn't chasing fame. He wasn't reckless. He just wanted to finish something he started. He believed in himself, trusted his team, and gave everything to the mountain. That kind of quiet dedication is rare. It's easy to judge from the outside, but in truth, Don was just like the rest of us. Someone trying to turn a lifelong dream into a moment of glory. And that dream, no matter how pure, collided with a system that no longer had room for mistakes. There's something uniquely chilling about Don's death. He didn't perish in a dramatic fall. He didn't vanish in a storm. He died standing in line. It was the most ordinary death, in the most extraordinary place. That's what makes it so terrifying, because anyone could be next. Climbers say it's not the altitude that kills you, it's the waiting. Every minute you spend above 8,000 meters, your body is dying. Everest gives you a window, and if you miss it, it closes fast. Don's body didn't give out because he was unprepared. It gave out because the system around him was broken. Even Nirmal Purja, who summited that same day, said the traffic jam put everyone at risk. His famous photo of the human traffic line is now burned into the minds of mountaineers. Everest, it seems, has become a place where dreams die not with drama, but with delay. Don's death reignited the debate. Should Everest have a climber cap? Should companies be required to vet their clients? Should rescue efforts be mandatory, no matter the cost? But Everest answers none of those questions. It just takes, and keeps taking. Today, Don's body remains on the mountain. His family has requested it stays there, not out of carelessness, but out of love, because that was his dream, to stand on the roof of the world, and he did. But his legacy is a cautionary tale, not just for climbers, but for anyone chasing a dream, because sometimes the greatest danger isn't failure, it's success followed by stillness. It's believing the summit is the end. It's forgetting that coming down is where the real story begins. So next time you see a photo from Everest, look closer. Behind the flags and smiles, there are silent stories, frozen in the snow, waiting in line. If this story moved you, please like and subscribe. There are more stories from Everest coming, more dreams, more tragedies, and more warnings written in ice. Stay safe, and never forget, on Everest, the descent is everything.